The stars looked cold and distant through the cracked viewport of the cargo ship Mugunghwa. Captain Minji stood perfectly still on the bridge, her hands resting on the command console. Behind her, 12 crew members waited in silence. Nobody spoke. There was nothing left to say. The alien warship filled the entire view screen now. It was massive, at least 10 times larger than the Mugunghwa. Dark metal plates covered its hull, and strange symbols glowed red along its sides. Minji had seen ships like this before in emergency broadcasts. The Vakrin Empire. They had conquered 43 different species in the last 100 years. Now they wanted to add humans to that list. The Mugunghwa's engines were dead. The surprise attack had come fast. Too fast for them to fight back or run away. Electromagnetic pulses had fried most of their systems. Life support still worked. Communications were gone. Weapons were offline. They were floating dead in space, waiting. Minji's first officer, Hyun, stood beside her. He was a tall man with kind eyes that now looked worried. "Captain, should we prepare to resist?" he asked quietly. Minji shook her head. "Not yet. Let them think we're helpless." A bright light cut through the darkness outside. The Vakrin ship was opening its docking bay. Metal clamps shot out and grabbed the Mugunghwa, pulling it closer. The whole cargo ship shuddered and groaned. Some crew members grabbed onto their stations to stay standing. Bora, the ship's engineer, checked her tablet. "They're cutting through our airlock, Captain. Maybe 2 minutes before they're inside. Everyone stay calm," Minji said. She turned to face her crew. They all looked scared, but they trusted her. "Remember your training. Remember what we practiced." The crew nodded. Some of them touched small devices on their belts. Others closed their eyes and took deep breaths. Jiwon, the tactical officer, caught Minji's eye and gave a small smile. They were ready. The sound of metal being cut echoed through the ship. Then came the hiss of air pressure equalizing. Heavy footsteps rang through the corridors, getting closer and closer. The footsteps didn't sound human. They were too heavy, too slow, too deliberate. The bridge door exploded inward. Smoke filled the room. When it cleared, Minji saw them. The Vakrin soldiers were huge, at least 7 feet tall. They looked like giant lizards standing on 2 legs. Scales covered their bodies, mostly green and brown. Their eyes were yellow with black slits for pupils. Each one carried a weapon that crackled with blue energy. More soldiers poured through the door. They spread out quickly, surrounding the human crew. Their movements were practiced and efficient. They had done this many times before. One soldier barked commands in a harsh, clicking language. Small devices on their armor translated the words into human speech. "Do not move. You are prisoners of the Vakrin Empire." Nobody moved. The soldiers put electromagnetic restraints on each crew member's wrists. The restraints hummed with power and felt cold against skin. When Hyun tried to shift his weight, his restraints shocked him. He gasped but didn't cry out. The last Vakrin to enter was different from the others. He was taller, and his scales had a darker pattern. A bright red crest rose from his head, marking him as important. His armor was more decorated with symbols and medals. This was their commander. He walked slowly around the bridge, examining everything. His yellow eyes studied each crew member like they were insects in a jar. When he reached Minji, he stopped. They stared at each other for a long moment. "You are the captain," he said. It wasn't a question. His translated voice was deep and cold. "I am," Minji replied. She kept her voice steady. The commander's crest flared wider. "I am Commander Thulvan of the Vakrin Empire. Your species has been avoiding us, running, hiding. This ends now. You will tell me the locations of all human military bases. You will tell me where your colonies are. You will tell me everything." "No," Minji said simply. Thulvan's head jerked back slightly. Clearly, he wasn't used to hearing that word. His crest flared even wider, turning a darker shade of red. "You do not understand your situation, human. We have conquered 43 species, 43. Your kind is weak, small, your ships are slow. Your weapons are primitive. You cannot resist the Vakrin Empire." Minji said nothing. She just looked at him. The commander's patience broke. He stepped closer, towering over her. "Kneel before me." Minji stayed standing. Thulvan made a sharp clicking sound. 2 soldiers moved toward Minji. Their weapons were raised and ready. The other crew members tensed, but the restraints held them in place. Bora looked like she wanted to run forward and help. Hyun's jaw was clenched tight. "You will kneel or you will be forced," Thulvan said. His voice carried a clear threat. The 2 soldiers were almost within reach of Minji now. She could smell them, a strange scent like hot metal and old leather. Their yellow eyes glowed in the dim bridge lighting. Their clawed hands reached out to grab her. Minji slowly raised her hands above her head. The soldiers paused. Tulvan made a satisfied clicking sound. Finally, you understand submission. But Minji was smiling. It was a small smile, almost invisible, but it was there. She looked directly at Thulvan. That's your first mistake, she said quietly. Thulvan's crest flattened in confusion. What? The lights on the bridge flickered. Then they went completely dark. The Vakran soldiers made alarmed clicking sounds. Their weapons' glow provided the only light now, casting strange shadows on the walls. Then the emergency lights came on. But they weren't the normal white emergency lights. They were red. Battle lights. A sound started deep in the ship's core. It was low at first, almost too quiet to hear. But it grew louder. It was the sound of systems coming back online. Systems that had been sleeping. Systems that had been waiting. Minji's smile grew wider. Her hands were still raised above her head. In the center of each palm, a small light glowed green. The biometric sensors had activated. Thulvan stared at the lights. What have you done? I activated the protocol, Minji said. Every human captain has one of these. When we raise both hands, when we pretend to surrender, it wakes up the ship. You thought you captured a helpless cargo vessel. You thought we were prey. The ship's gravity suddenly shifted. The Vakran soldiers stumbled and fell. They were heavy, and the sudden change caught them completely off guard. They crashed to the floor, their weapons sliding away across the deck. You're wrong, Minji continued. Her voice was calm, almost friendly. You just activated a trap. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut all around the ship. The sound of metal doors closing echoed from every corridor. The Vakran soldiers on the bridge were cut off from the rest of their boarding party. Thulvan tried to contact his ship, but communications were jammed. The electromagnetic restraints on the human crew sparked and died. The magnetic pulse from the ship's reactivated systems had fried them. Hyun was the first to move. He grabbed a fallen Vakran weapon and pointed it at the nearest soldier. Bora ran to her engineering console. Her fingers flew across the controls, rerouting power to defensive systems. Activating internal countermeasures. We've got them scattered across 7 different sections of the ship, Captain. Jiwon took position at the tactical station. Weapon pods are deploying. The cargo bay doors are opening. All hidden systems are coming online. Taeyong, the pilot, slid into his chair and grabbed the controls. Engines responding. Maneuvering thrusters at full power. We can move. Minji lowered her hands. The green lights in her palms faded. She walked toward Thulvan, who was struggling to stand in the fluctuating gravity. You made a mistake, Commander. You thought humans were like the other species you conquered. You thought we would just give up when faced with superior force. Thulvan's crest flared in rage. This changes nothing. My ship will destroy you. Maybe, Minji admitted. But first you need to get off my ship alive. And right now I don't think that's very likely. All around them, the Mugunghwa was coming to life. Hidden panels opened in the walls, revealing weapon racks. The ship's artificial intelligence began speaking in calm, clear tones, announcing system status and threat assessments. The supposedly helpless cargo ship was transforming into something else entirely. Minji looked at her crew. They were all at their stations now, ready. They had trained for this moment. Every human ship in frontier space had these hidden systems. Every captain knew the protocol. The Vakran Empire had been raiding what they thought were defenseless targets. They had been so very wrong. Now then, Commander Thulvan, Minji said, let's discuss terms. Your soldiers can surrender, or we can show you exactly what happens when you try to capture a human ship. The battle for the Mugunghwa had begun. 3 months earlier, Minji had stood in a white medical room on New Seoul Station. The station orbited Earth, serving as the main training facility for human captains. Through the window, she could see the blue and green planet below, peaceful and beautiful. It was hard to believe a war was coming. Instructor Diho entered the room. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had been training ship captains for 20 years. Nervous? He asked. About the surgery? A little, Minji admitted. She sat on the medical table looking at her hands. Soon those hands would carry something extraordinary. Diho pulled up a chair. Let me tell you why we do this. Other species in the galaxy fight with overwhelming force. They build bigger ships, stronger weapons, more soldiers. They believe that power wins wars. And we don't? Minji asked. We can't, Deho said simply. Humans are new to space. We don't have the biggest ships or the most advanced weapons. So we had to think differently. We fight with overwhelming preparation. He smiled. Let me show you something. He pulled up a holographic display. It showed a map of known space. Red zones marked Vakran Empire territory. It was huge, covering almost half the galaxy. The Vakran have been expanding for a century. They're not creative, but they're effective. They find a species, study them for a few weeks, then attack with massive force. It works because most species fight the same way. But humans don't, Minji said, understanding. Exactly. When the Vakran scouts started appearing in our space, we knew war was coming. We had maybe a year to prepare. So we started the protocol program. Deho changed the display. It now showed a human cargo ship. Every ship that goes into frontier space gets modifications. Hidden weapons, backup power systems, reinforced hulls disguised to look weak. And every captain gets this. He held up a small device. It looked like a grain of rice. The dead man's switch. It goes into your palm, connects to your nervous system. When you raise both hands above your head, it sends a signal to your ship. Every sleeping system wakes up. Every trap activates. Every weapon comes online. Minji stared at the tiny device. It turns the ship into a weapon. It turns surrender into an attack, Deho corrected. Psychological warfare. The Vakran will board ships they think are helpless. They'll think they've won. Then the captain raises their hands and suddenly everything changes. The prey becomes the predator. The medical team entered then. The surgery was quick and painless, done with laser precision. When Minji woke up, she felt no different. But when she looked at her palms, she could see the faint outline of the implants under her skin. She pressed them gently. Nothing happened. They were dormant, waiting. Over the next 2 months, Minji learned everything about the protocol. She practiced in simulators again and again. Vakran board the ship. Systems go down. Raise hands. Activate protocol. Fight back. Every human captain learned the same steps. Every crew member trained for the moment when their helpless ship would suddenly become dangerous. Deho made them practice in different scenarios. Sometimes the Vakran came during normal flight, sometimes during docking, sometimes while the crew was sleeping. It didn't matter. The protocol worked every time. The key is selling it, Deho told them during one training session. You have to make them believe you've given up. Show fear, act defeated. The more confident they are, the more surprised they'll be when you strike. Minji and her crew trained together. Hyun learned to break electromagnetic restraints using magnetic pulses. Bora memorized every hidden system in the ship and how to activate them quickly. Jiwon studied Vakran tactics and psychology. Taeyoung practiced flying the ship during system failures and power fluctuations. They learned about the Vakran too. The lizard-like aliens valued strength and dominance. They saw surrender as natural, expected. In their culture, the weak always submitted to the strong. They had conquered 43 species using this belief. None of those species had ever turned the tables on them. That's their weakness, Deho explained. They're predictable. They always follow the same pattern. Board the ship, secure the crew, interrogate the captain. They never expect resistance after the initial capture. That's when we hit them. Now back in the present, Minji watched her crew execute everything they had learned. The Vakran soldiers on the bridge were trying to adapt to the fluctuating gravity. Their heavy bodies made them slow and clumsy. Hyun and Jiwon had collected their weapons and were covering them. Bora, status report, Minji ordered. The engineer's fingers danced across her console. We've got 17 Vakran soldiers scattered throughout the ship. 7 are trapped in the cargo hold. 4 are stuck in corridor junctions where I've sealed the bulkheads. 3 are in the engine room. But I've vented that section to near vacuum. They're in suits, but they can't move freely. The remaining 3 are here on the bridge with us. Casualties on our side? None, Captain. The protocol worked perfectly. They didn't have time to hurt anyone before the systems activated. Minji turned to Thulvan. The Vakran commander was on his knees now, held there by the gravity manipulation. His crest was flat against his head, a sign of distress in his species. You were saying something about how weak humans are? Thulvan's yellow eyes burned with rage. You are clever for prey, but my ship is still out there. It will destroy you. Maybe, Minji said again. But first, let's deal with your soldiers on my ship. Bora, open a ship-wide channel. The engineer nodded. Channel open, Captain. Minji's voice echoed through every corridor and chamber of the Mugunghwa. She spoke clearly, knowing the Vakran's translator devices would convert her words. Vakran soldiers, this is Captain Minji of the human vessel Mugungwa. You are cut off from your ship. You are separated from each other. You are trapped in a vessel that is now hostile to your presence. I am offering you one chance to surrender. Drop your weapons, remain where you are, and you will not be harmed. Resist, and we will activate the ship's internal defenses. You have 60 seconds to comply. Silence filled the ship. Minji counted down in her head. 30 seconds. 45. 50. At 58 seconds, she heard Bora's report. 7 soldiers in the cargo hold have dropped their weapons. 4 in the corridors are complying. 3 in the engine room are trying to cut through the bulkhead. The 3 here on the bridge are... Bora looked up. Commander, what are your orders? All eyes turned to Thulvan. The commander's crest flared one more time, then slowly flattened in defeat. He spoke in his own language, a series of clicks and hisses. The 3 Vakran soldiers on the bridge immediately dropped their weapons and raised their clawed hands. Wise choice, Minji said. She signaled to Hyun, who collected the Vakran weapons and moved them to a secure cabinet. Now, Commander, let's talk about your ship. It's still out there, and I imagine they're very confused about why you haven't reported in. Thulvan said nothing. His pride was clearly wounded. Being captured by prey species was probably the most humiliating thing that could happen to a Vakran warrior. Taeyong spoke from the pilot station. Captain, the Vakran warship is moving. They're positioning for a firing solution. How long until they're in range? 3 minutes, maybe less. Minji made a decision. Taeyong, take us into the asteroid field. Emergency speed. Don't worry about making it comfortable. The pilot's hands moved quickly. The Mugungwa's engines roared to life. The ship jerked forward so hard that everyone grabbed onto something to stay upright. Even with the gravity working against them, the Vakran soldiers fell forward. Through the viewport, Minji watched as the ship dove toward a nearby asteroid field. The rocks floated in space, some small as houses, others large as cities. It was a dangerous place to fly, especially at high speed. They're following us, Jiwon reported from Tactical. The Vakran ship is giving chase. Good, Minji said. That's exactly what I want them to do. Thulvan looked up at her, confused. You run into the asteroids? That is suicide, Minji smiled. For your ship, maybe. But the Mugungwa is a cargo hauler. We navigate tight spaces every day. Your warship is big and powerful, but it's not agile. Let's see how well they fly in close quarters. The ship entered the asteroid field. Taeyong flew with practiced skill, weaving between rocks, diving through gaps, rolling to avoid collisions. The Vakran warship followed, but it moved cautiously. It had to. One collision with a large asteroid could cripple even a military vessel. Bora, prepare the cargo bay surprise, Minji ordered. The engineer grinned. With pleasure, Captain. The cargo bay of the Mugungwa had looked empty when the Vakran first scanned it. But that was because the weapons were hidden in the walls and floor. Now those panels were sliding open. Missile racks emerged. Railguns extended. Energy cannons charged with power. The Vakran ship is locking weapons on us, Jiwon warned. Wait for it, Minji said calmly. She watched the viewport, judging distances and angles. The Vakran warship was getting closer, trying to get a clear shot despite the asteroids. Wait. A massive asteroid loomed ahead, easily a mile wide. Taeyong flew straight toward it. At the last possible second, he rolled the ship and dove underneath. The Mugungwa's hull scraped against the rock surface, sending sparks flying. But they made it through. The Vakran warship tried to follow, but it was too big, too slow. It had to go around the asteroid, which took precious seconds. Now, Minji shouted. The Mugungwa spun in space. The cargo bay doors where the Vakran warship tried to return fire, but Taeyong was already moving. He flew the Mugungwa through the asteroid field like it was a dance he had practiced 1,000 times. The cargo ship twisted and turned, using the floating rocks as shields. Every time the warship got a clear shot, an asteroid would drift into the way. On the Vakran warship's bridge, Commander Thulvan's second officer was now in charge. His name was Rekthar, and he was staring at his screens in disbelief. A cargo ship was fighting back. More than that, it was winning. Sir, we've lost 30% of our engine power, the engineering officer reported. That last attack hit our primary fusion reactor. We're running on backups, Rekthar's crest flared in frustration. How is this possible? It's a cargo ship. Our intelligence said human vessels were lightly armed. They lied to us, the weapons officer said quietly. Or we were wrong. Either way, that ship is dangerous. Contact the High Command, Rekthar ordered. Tell them we need support. Tell them the humans are not what we thought. But before the communications officer could send the message, the Mugunghwa struck again. This time the attack came from a different angle. Taeyong had circled around behind a cluster of asteroids and emerged on the warship's flank, where the shields were weakest. More missiles and energy beams hammered into the Vakrin ship. The shields flickered and failed in several sections. Explosions ripped through the outer hull. Crew members were thrown from their stations as the ship shuddered. Shields down to 40%, the tactical officer shouted. We're taking heavy damage. Rekthar made a decision. Full retreat. Jump to faster than light speed as soon as we clear the asteroid field. Sir, we can't leave the commander behind. The commander is already lost, Rekthar said bitterly. If we stay, we'll be destroyed too. At least we can warn the Empire about what we've learned. Back on the Mugunghwa, Minji watched the Vakrin warship trying to flee. She could have pressed the attack, maybe even destroyed them. But she had a better idea. Ji-won, can you hack their communications? The tactical officer looked surprised. Maybe. Their systems are damaged. Their firewalls might be weak right now. What do you want me to do? I want to listen to what they're telling their command. And if possible, I want to send them a message they can't ignore. Ji-won's fingers flew across her console. Code scrolled down her screen faster than most people could read. I'm in. They're sending an emergency report to something called the High Command. They're saying, oh, this is interesting. They're saying humans are a serious threat. They're requesting an entire fleet to deal with us. Let them request it, Minji said. But first, send them our sensor logs. I want the Vakrin High Command to see exactly what happened here. Every moment. Every shot. Every time we turned their attack against them. Captain, are you sure? Hyun asked. If we show them our capabilities, they'll prepare better next time. They'll prepare anyway, Minji said. But they'll also be afraid. Fear is a weapon too. I want every Vakrin commander to think twice before attacking a human ship. I want them to wonder if that cargo hauler they're scanning is really helpless or if it's a trap waiting to spring. Ji-won worked for another minute. Done. I've uploaded our complete battle records to their system. I've also set it to broadcast on their military frequencies. Every Vakrin ship in this sector will receive it. Perfect. Now let's deal with our prisoners. Minji walked back to where Commander Thulvan knelt. The gravity had returned to normal, but the Vakrin commander stayed on his knees. His pride was broken. His soldiers were captured. His ship was fleeing. Everything he believed about Vakrin superiority had been shattered in less than an hour. Commander, I'm going to offer you a deal, Minji said. I'll return you and your soldiers to your ship unharmed. In exchange, you will tell your high command everything that happened here. Not just the battle. Tell them about the protocol. Tell them that every human ship might be a trap. Tell them that humans don't surrender the way they expect. Thulvan looked up at her. His yellow eyes were filled with a mixture of anger and something else. Respect, maybe, or fear. You want me to spread fear among my people? I want you to spread the truth, Minji corrected. The Vakrin Empire has conquered 43 species. But humans aren't like those species. We're adaptable. We're unpredictable. We turn our weaknesses into strengths. The sooner your empire learns that, the fewer of your soldiers will die. You speak as if you care about Vakrin lives. I don't enjoy killing, Minji said, but I'll do whatever it takes to protect my species. If that means destroying your ships, I will. If it means sending a message that saves lives on both sides, I'll do that instead. Thulvan was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. You are not like prey. You are like us, predators. No, Minji said. We're survivors. There's a difference, she signaled to Hyun. Prepare a shuttle. Load all the Vakrin prisoners. Give them basic supplies and medical aid. Then send them back to their ship. Captain, what if they attack us again once they're back on their ship? Hyun asked. They won't, Minji said confidently. Their ship is damaged and retreating, and Commander Thulvan is smart enough to know he's outmatched. Right, Commander? Thulvan's crest flared one last time, then flattened in acknowledgement. I will honor this agreement. You have my word as a warrior. An hour later, the Vakrin prisoners were loaded onto a small shuttle. Minji watched from the bridge as it flew back to the damaged warship. True to his word, Thulvan did not attack. The warship collected its soldiers, then jumped to faster-than-light speed. It was gone in a flash of blue light. Should we pursue? Taeyong asked. No, Minji said. We've made our point. Now let's see how the galaxy responds. The response came faster than anyone expected. Within hours, the battle recording had spread across Vakran space. Commanders watched in shock as a cargo ship dismantled a warship. The video showed everything. The fake surrender, the hidden weapons, the tactical brilliance of using the asteroid field, the complete reversal of predator and prey. But the recording didn't stay in Vakran space. It leaked to other species. The 43 conquered worlds saw it. Resistance fighters on a dozen planets downloaded it and shared it in secret. They watched humans fight back against the seemingly unstoppable Vakran Empire. They watched humans win. On a planet called Kelvar 3, a conquered species called the Nethrin gathered in hidden bunkers to watch the video. They had been under Vakran control for 15 years. Their rebellion had been crushed long ago. But now, watching the Mugunghwa's victory, hope stirred in their hearts. If humans can fight back, maybe we can too, their leader said. Similar conversations happened on other worlds. The Vakran Empire had seemed invincible, but humans had shown a weakness in the Vakran strategy. They were predictable. They relied on overwhelming force. They expected surrender. What if other species stopped surrendering? On the Vakran homeworld, the High Command held an emergency meeting. The council chamber was filled with the Empire's highest-ranking commanders. They all had dark crests and battle-scarred armor. They had built an empire through strength and violence. Now they faced something they hadn't encountered in decades. Uncertainty. The Supreme Commander, a massive Vakran named Krathzar, reviewed the battle footage for the 10th time. Explain this to me again. One small human ship defeated a military cruiser? The ship was not what it appeared to be, one advisor said. The humans had hidden weapons, advanced tactics. They anticipated our boarding procedures and turned them against us, so they prepared a trap. More than that, Supreme Commander. This was not a single trap. According to our intelligence, every human ship in frontier space may have similar capabilities. Every cargo hauler could be a warship in disguise. Every captain could have this in protocol. Krathzar's crest flared dangerously. You're telling me we've been raiding armed military vessels while thinking they were civilian targets? Yes, Supreme Commander. The chamber erupted in angry clicking and hissing. The Vakran commanders had all led successful raids on human ships. Now they realized those ships had let themselves be captured. The humans had been gathering intelligence on Vakran tactics, weapons, and ship designs. Every raid had been feeding information back to human command. How many ships have we lost to this protocol? Krathzar demanded. We don't know yet. Many ships that went missing in human space. We assumed they were lost to engine failures or accidents. Now we must consider they may have been destroyed by the prey they were hunting. One commander stood up. We should launch a full invasion. Show the humans overwhelming force. Crush their resistance before it spreads to the conquered worlds. No, Krathzar said firmly. That is exactly what they expect us to do. The humans are psychological warriors. They want us to overcommit. They want us to charge into more traps. We must be smarter than this. Then what do you propose, Supreme Commander? Krathzar thought carefully. We pull back from human space temporarily. We study their tactics. We adapt our strategies. And we make sure every commander knows that humans are not prey. They are dangerous opponents who must be approached with caution. It was a stunning admission. For the first time in decades, the Vakran Empire was treating an opponent with respect, rather than contempt. Meanwhile, 6 weeks passed after Minji's victory over the Vakran warship. Those 6 weeks changed everything. The battle recording had spread across the entire galaxy like wildfire. Species that had been conquered by the Vakran watched it again and again. They studied every moment. They analyzed every tactic. Most importantly, they started to believe that resistance was possible. On the planet Kelvar 3, the Nethrin people launched their first major attack against Vakran occupation in 15 years. They used tactics inspired by the human protocol. They pretended to be weak and compliant, then struck when the Vakran least expected it. 3 Vakran military outposts fell in a single night. Similar uprisings happened on other conquered worlds. The Toral people sabotaged Vakran mining operations. The Quillian species started a guerrilla war in their planet's vast forests. The Dreven resistance, which had been hiding in underground caves for 20 years, emerged and attacked Vakran supply lines. The Vakran Empire was facing something it had never dealt with before. Multiple rebellions on multiple worlds all happening at the same time. Their military was stretched thin, trying to maintain control. But the Vakran were not passive. They adapted. They became more cautious about human ships, yes, but they also became more brutal toward the conquered species. If humans had taught the galaxy how to rebel, the Vakrin would teach them the cost of rebellion. On Earth, Minji stood in front of a classroom filled with ship captains. The room was in New Seoul Station's training facility. 50 men and women sat at desks, all watching her carefully. These were the best civilian captains humanity had. Now they needed to become warriors. The protocol saved my ship and my crew, Minji told them. But it's not just about the technology. The implants in your palms are tools. What matters is how you think. The Vakrin expect surrender. They expect fear. You have to give them what they expect, right up until the moment you don't. A captain named Soo-hyun raised her hand. Commodore, what if they learn to counter the protocol? What if they start expecting the trap? They will, Minji admitted. They're already adapting. Some Vakrin commanders are now destroying ships instead of boarding them. Others are using longer-range weapons. That's why you can't just rely on the protocol. You need to think like humans. Be unpredictable. Use whatever advantages you have. She pulled up a holographic display. It showed various human ships and their hidden capabilities. Every ship is different. Cargo haulers can hide weapons in their holds. Mining ships have industrial lasers that can cut through warship armor. Even small scout vessels can be dangerous if used correctly. Your job is to know your ship better than anyone else. Know its strengths. Know its weaknesses. Then use both to your advantage. For 3 hours, Minji taught them everything she had learned. How to fake system failures. How to use environmental factors like asteroid fields or solar radiation. How to turn civilian equipment into weapons. How to make the enemy overconfident, then use that overconfidence against them. After the class, Admiral Soon-hee called Minji to her office. The Admiral looked tired. Reports and tactical displays covered her desk. Commodore, I have a new assignment for you. The colony world of New Busan is requesting additional defensive support. Intelligence suggests the Vakrin are planning a major attack there. How major? Possibly an entire fleet. 70 ships or more. They want to make an example of New Busan. Show the galaxy what happens to humans who resist. Minji felt her stomach tighten. New Busan was home to 3 million people. 70 Vakrin warships could destroy the entire planet. What forces do we have to defend it? 19 military vessels, plus whatever civilian ships are in the system. It's not enough, Minji. Not against 70 warships, then why send me? Admiral Sun-hee looked her in the eyes. Because you're the best we have at turning bad situations into victories. Because the people of New Busan need hope and you give people hope. Because maybe, just maybe, you can find a way to win. 3 days later, Minji arrived at New Busan aboard the Mugunghwa. The planet was beautiful, covered in oceans and green continents. Cities sparkled on the surface, peaceful and unaware of the coming storm. But in orbit, the mood was tense. The defense fleet gathered around the planet. 19 military ships ranging from small frigates to the large carrier called Baekdu. Admiral Sun-hee commanded from the Baekdu's bridge. She had come personally to oversee the defense. Minji also counted 43 civilian vessels. Cargo ships, mining haulers, passenger transports, even a few luxury yachts. They had all volunteered to stay and help defend the colony. Each one had been retrofitted with weapons and defensive systems. Each captain had received protocol training. It's still not enough, Admiral Sun-hee said during the command briefing. Even with the civilian ships, we're outnumbered 3-1. Then we don't fight them directly, Minji said. She pulled up a map of the New Busan system. The planet has extensive asteroid mining operations. Hundreds of mining stations scattered across 3 different asteroid belts. Most of them are automated, but they still have powerful equipment. Mining lasers, the Admiral said, understanding dawning. You want to turn the mining stations into weapons platforms. More than that. The asteroids themselves can be weapons. If we position them correctly, we can create choke points, funnel the Vakrin fleet into areas where we have advantages. A captain named Hee-jin spoke up. Commodore, moving asteroids takes time. If we start repositioning them now, the Vakrin will see what we're doing. Let them see, Minji said. Let them think we're building static defenses. They'll plan to overwhelm those defenses with force. They won't realize the asteroids are mobile until it's too late. Another captain, Youngmin, looked skeptical. This is a huge gamble. If it doesn't work, we lose everything. If we try to fight them in a conventional battle, we lose for certain, Minji countered. At least this way we have a chance. Admiral Sun-hee considered for a long moment. Then she nodded. Do it. Commodore Minji. You have operational command of the civilian fleet. Coordinate with the mining stations. Set your trap. You have 72 hours before the Vakrin arrive. Those 72 hours passed in a blur of constant activity. Minji worked with the mining station operators to reprogram their equipment. Industrial lasers designed to cut rock were recalibrated to target warships. Magnetic accelerators used for moving ore were modified to launch projectiles at incredible speeds. The civilian ships spread out across the system, each taking up positions near mining stations. They practiced coordinated attacks, learning to work together. Captain Su-yun, who had questioned Minji during training, commanded a squadron of cargo haulers. Captain Heejin led the mining vessels. Captain Youngman coordinated the passenger transports, which were now equipped with missile launchers. Meanwhile, thousands of automated drones began moving asteroids. They pushed the massive rocks into new orbits, creating a maze of obstacles between the planet and the outer system. To the Vakrin scouts watching from a distance, it looked like humans were building a defensive wall. That was exactly what Minji wanted them to think. On the third day, the Vakrin fleet arrived. 70 warships dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the system. They were arranged in a standard military formation, organized and intimidating. Each ship was huge, bristling with weapons. Together they represented enough firepower to destroy a dozen planets. Commander Grathvar led the fleet from his flagship, the Worldbreaker. He had been chosen for this mission specifically because of his reputation for ruthless efficiency. He had crushed rebellions on 5 different worlds. New Busan would be his 6th victory. Scan the system, he ordered. Show me what the humans have prepared. His sensor officer displayed the results. Sir, the humans have positioned 19 military vessels in orbit around the planet. They also have approximately 40 civilian ships scattered among the asteroid mining stations. Total estimate, 62 hostile vessels. Acceptable odds, Grathvar said. His crest flared with confidence. The civilian ships are no threat. We'll destroy the military vessels first, then eliminate the civilians at our leisure. Begin the attack! Standard assault pattern. Overwhelming force, the Vakrin fleet moved forward. They advanced in formation, shields at maximum, weapons charged. They expected the human defense fleet to come out and meet them. Instead, the human ships stayed close to the planet, hiding behind the asteroid field. They're cowering, one Vakrin officer said with satisfaction. They know they cannot win. But Minji wasn't cowering. She was waiting. She watched from the Mugunghwa's bridge as the Vakrin fleet entered the asteroid field. The enemy ships moved carefully, avoiding the larger rocks, maintaining their formation. All ships hold position, Minji transmitted to the human fleet. Let them come deeper. Wait for my signal. The Vakrin fleet advanced further. They were halfway through the asteroid field now. Grathvar was pleased. The humans have made this easy for us. They built defenses but lack the courage to fight. Continue forward. Once we clear these asteroids, we'll have clear shots at their ships. That's when Minji gave the signal. Now, across the asteroid field, mining stations activated simultaneously. But they didn't fire at the Vakrin ships. Instead, they fired at the asteroids themselves. Carefully calculated laser bursts struck the rocks at precise angles. The asteroids began moving, accelerating, changing orbits. Within seconds, the battle for New Busan raged for 6 brutal hours. Space around the colony world filled with fire and debris. Vakrin warships exploded in brilliant flashes. Human ships fell too, their crews dying to protect the millions of civilians on the planet below. Commander Grathvar watched his perfect assault crumble into disaster. He had started with 70 ships. Now he counted only 43 still operational. The humans had destroyed or crippled 27 Vakrin warships in just 6 hours. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was happening. Sir, we must retreat, his tactical officer urged. We're losing ships faster than we can respond. Grathvar's crest flared darkly. We are the Vakrin Empire. We do not retreat from prey species. With respect, Commander, these are not prey. They fight like nothing we've encountered before. On the other side of the battle, things weren't much better for the humans. Admiral Sun Hee's flagship Baekdu had taken severe damage. The carrier's shields were failing, and fires raged in 3 different sections. But the Admiral refused to pull back. How many civilian transports have escaped? She asked. 217 vessels have successfully evacuated from the planet, her communications officer reported. Approximately 2 million people are safe. But we still have 1 million colonists waiting for transport. Then we keep fighting. Every minute we hold gives more people time to escape. Minji's Mugunghwa flew through the chaos like a dancer. Taeyong piloted with incredible skill, dodging weapons fire and debris. Bora kept the shields reinforced and weapons powered. Jiwon coordinated attacks with other civilian ships. They had already destroyed 2 Vakran cruisers and damaged several more, but they were paying a price. Minji had started the battle with 43 civilian vessels under her command. She was down to 28 now. 15 ships lost, 15 crews dead. Their sacrifice bought time for the evacuations, but the cost kept rising. Captain Soo-hyun's cargo hauler exploded after ramming a Vakran destroyer. Captain Hyejin's mining vessel was cut in half by enemy fire. Captain Youngman managed to eject his crew in escape pods before his ship was destroyed. Every loss hurt. Every death weighed on Minji's conscience. But she couldn't stop. Not while civilians needed more time. A communication came through from the planet's surface. Governor Young-ho's face appeared, showing stress and exhaustion. Commodore, we need at least 4 more hours to complete the evacuation. Can you hold? Minji looked at her tactical display. The situation was deteriorating. The Vakran were adapting to human tactics now. They stayed close together, preventing the humans from isolating and destroying individual ships. They were slowly pushing through the asteroid field despite the mining station's efforts. We'll hold, Minji promised. She didn't know if it was true, but what else could she say? Admiral Sun-hee had the same grim determination. The Baekdu was barely functioning, but she kept her ship in the fight. All military vessels focus fire on the Vakran flagship. If we can take out their commander, maybe the rest will break. The human warships concentrated their attacks on Grathvar's ship, the World Breaker. It was the largest vessel in the Vakran fleet, heavily armored and shielded. But under sustained fire from multiple human ships, even its defenses began to fail. Shields at 20%. Grathvar's engineering officer reported. We cannot sustain this level of attack much longer. For the first time, doubt entered Grathvar's mind. He had been so certain of victory. The Vakran Empire always won through overwhelming force, but the humans didn't fight the way other species fought. They were unpredictable, creative, desperate. They turned every disadvantage into an advantage. They refused to accept defeat even when defeat was logical. Commander, incoming transmission from the human flagship, his communications officer said. Put it through. Admiral Sun-hee's face appeared on the view screen. She looked exhausted but determined. Behind her, Grathvar could see smoke and damage on her bridge. Commander Grathvar, I'm offering you one chance to withdraw. Leave this system now and no more ships need to die today. Grathvar's crest flared in anger. You dare offer me terms? You are losing this battle, am I? Sun-hee gestured to something off-screen. Your fleet is scattered. You've lost 40% of your ships. My people are still fighting, and every minute you stay here, more civilians escape. Even if you destroy every ship I have, you'll fail your mission. The colony will survive, it was true. Grathvar could see it in his tactical displays. The evacuation transports were jumping to faster than light speed by the dozens. Soon there would be nothing left to destroy on the planet below. But his pride wouldn't let him admit defeat. We will destroy your ships, then hunt down every transport. None of your people will escape. You can try, Sun-hee said calmly. But I should tell you something. You're not just fighting the ships you can see. Before Grathvar could ask what she meant, his sensors officer shouted a warning. Sir, multiple faster-than-light signatures detected. Ships dropping out of FTL all around us. The Vakran commander watched in shock as 140 human warships appeared throughout the system. They emerged from faster-than-light speed in perfect formation, surrounding the Vakran fleet. This was Earth's defense fleet, led by Admiral Daeho aboard the carrier Halasan. Admiral Daeho's voice boomed across all frequencies. Vakran forces, you have 10 minutes to withdraw before we open fire. This is your only warning. The balance of power had shifted dramatically. Grathvar now faced nearly 200 human vessels with only 43 damaged and exhausted ships. There was no question who would win if the fighting continued. Tactical assessment, Grathvar demanded. His tactical officer's voice was resigned. Sir, if we fight, we will be destroyed, all of us. The humans have us surrounded and outnumbered. Aboard the Mugunghwa, Minji felt relief wash over her. They had held just long enough. The reinforcements had arrived. Her crew cheered, hugging each other in exhaustion and joy. But on the Vakran flagship, There was only bitter silence. Grathvar stared at the overwhelming human fleet surrounding him. He had come to destroy a colony and crush human resistance. Instead, he had lost more than half his fleet and accomplished nothing. His second officer, Thulvan, who had been transferred to this ship after his own defeat by the Mugunghwa, spoke quietly. "Commander, we must withdraw. There is no honor in pointless death." Grathvar's crest flattened in defeat. He had no choice. "All ships prepare to jump to faster than light speed. We're leaving this cursed system." "Wait," Thulvan said. He stepped forward to the communications console. "Commander Grathvar, may I send a message first?" The commander looked at him suspiciously. "What message?" "One that needs to be sent." "Trust me." Grathvar nodded. Thulvan opened a channel to the Mugunghwa. Minji's face appeared on his screen. She looked surprised to see him. "Commander Thulvan, I thought you'd learned your lesson last time we met." "I have learned many lessons from your species, Captain Minji. I learned that humans are not prey. I learned that you fight with your minds as much as your weapons. I learned that underestimating you is fatal." He paused. "But I want you to know something. This isn't over. The Vakran Empire will not stop. We will adapt. We will learn, and we will return." "I know," Minji said. "We'll be ready. I believe you will be. That's why I'm sending you this." Thulvan transmitted a data package. "Those are the complete sensor logs from this battle. Every tactic you used, every weakness you exploited. I'm sending it to you because I want you to know that we learn too. Next time these tactics won't work as well." Minji opened the file and studied it. Then she smiled. "Thank you for the warning, Commander. But you should know something too. By the time you return, we'll have developed entirely new tactics. Because that's what humans do. We adapt faster than anyone else." Thulvan's crest flared in what might have been respect. "Then I look forward to meeting you again on the battlefield or otherwise. Until then, Captain." The channel closed. Moments later, the Vakran fleet jumped to faster than light speed. 43 damaged warships fled the system, leaving behind the wreckage of their fallen ships and their shattered confidence. As soon as the enemy was gone, Minji slumped in her captain's chair. The exhaustion hit her all at once. 6 hours of constant battle. 15 civilian ships lost under her command. Hundreds of crew members dead. But they had won. The colony was saved. "Final casualty report," she asked quietly. Jiwon checked her console. "We lost 15 civilian vessels. The military fleet lost 5 ships, including 2 cruisers and 3 destroyers. Total human casualties, approximately 2,000 dead, 4,000 wounded. 2,000 dead. The number was staggering. But it could have been so much worse. If the Vakran had reached the planet, 1 million people would have died." Admiral Sunhee's voice came over the communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Sunhee. The battle is over. We've won. Begin recovery operations for survivors and wreckage. And thank you. Every single one of you fought with courage and skill today. You saved 3 million lives." Across the fleet, exhausted crews celebrated. But the celebration was muted. They had won, but at terrible cost. Ships were damaged. Friends were dead. Families had been shattered. Minji looked at her crew. Taeyang was slumped over his controls, too teary.